welcome to a very special interview show of the Prode. Tonight, we bring you an in-depth look at the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan following the horrific Pahalgam attack in India, where innocent Indian and foreign tourists lost their lives. India has firmly accused the state of Pakistan of backing cross-border terrorism, a long-standing threat that has undermined regional peace and stability for decades. In a swift response, India carried out strategic strikes on terror infrastructure inside Pakistan, carefully avoiding civilian and military targets. Pakistan, however, has chosen a path of reckless escalation. Instead of taking action against the terror groups operating on its soil, it has resorted to indiscriminate shelling across the line of control, causing the tragic death of 16 innocent Indian civilians. As we record this interview on 8th May, multiple Indian cities are under threat from flying drones launched from the Pakistani side, putting countless civilian lives at risk. India has been responding to these provocations with remarkable restraint and responsibility, determined to protect its people without widening the conflict. To help us understand the significance of these critical developments, we are deeply honored to be joined by Air Marshal M. Matheswaran, one of India's most respected military experts. Air Marshal served as the Deputy Chief of the Integrated Defense Staff, where he played a pivotal role in shaping India's integrated defense strategies. His responsibility covered both long-term and short-term defense planning, ensuring that the Army, Navy, and Air Force work together under a unified forward-looking strategy capable of addressing the complex challenges of modern warfare. With over 39 years of distinguished service in the Indian Air Force, Air Marshal M. Matheswaran has been at the forefront of some of India's most critical military projects. Notably, he served as the Chief Operations Officer at the Jamnagar Air Base during Operation Parakram, and his leadership was equally vital during the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, where he oversaw crucial air support activities that helped India respond swiftly to the crisis. As a founding member of India's Strategic Forces Command and a principal figure in the Nuclear Command, Air Marshal M. Matheswaran brings a deep and unmatched understanding of both conventional and strategic military dynamics, knowledge that is invaluable at a moment of heightened tension. Thank you so much, sir, for your time, and a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you, Retd. It's a great pleasure to be here on your show. Thank you.
So, how do you assess the strategic and operational significance of India's precision airstrikes under Operation Sindoor, targeting terror infrastructure inside Pakistan to start with?
Well, it's a comprehensive response in terms of both, picking up 9 target areas. Okay, that's a reflection of a comprehensive intelligence inputs that have come in to choose those targets, and then deciding to attack with, the modern weapons that we have in the inventory. And most importantly, the aircraft did not cross the international border. They've used all standoff, weapons, precision weapons with extreme accuracy. And the damage has been significant, including Jaish-e-Mohammed's organization's heads, family members, are reportedly 10 members are reportedly killed in that as well. So there's been a significant losses to the terrorist infrastructure. And there's a significant message that goes across from this, strike operation that India carried out is from a strategic term, in strategic context, I think 2 points are being highlighted very well, that Pakistan has never got out of the trap of using terrorism as a state ideology against India. And Pahalgam is the manifestation of that, despite the, a significant message that India sent across after the Pulwama attack by carrying out the Balakot strike. But that doesn't seem to have had enough effect, and therefore they've underestimated our ability to respond, fiercely in the manner that we've done yesterday. Second is the strategic impact is a message to the rest of the world that there is no tolerance that can be exercised in the context of terrorist outfits and terrorist acts that are carried out anywhere across the world. And second, if a state sponsors terrorism, that state must be held accountable. So these are messages that are going out in the strategic and operational terms. And second is, this time India has been extremely well prepared for escalation aspect of it. It is very well known that Pakistan would want to actually escalate, get things out of control, and then ask for international sympathy and try and recover out of this entire mess that they've created for themselves. But I think the escalation control is extremely in our hands and being exercised extremely well.
And how do you, first of all, see India's response to the Pahalgam attack, where India carefully targeted the terror infrastructure in Pakistan? What specific, defense capabilities of India, or you can say strike capabilities of India, were utilized in those targets against terror infrastructure?
Well, I've always, even while in service, I've always said, okay, Pakistan has got a strong military, significant, particularly the air forces. Um, Although they're hampered by, shortages and old aircraft and serviceability problems, etc. It's the Air Force is one of the better, is the best service out of the three. That's one. But the army is significantly influenced ever since Zia Haq initiated the process of, Islamization and then using terrorism as a strategy, what he called as bleed India through thousand cuts. This has been carrying on since '87. There's a strategy. They haven't got out of it. And army is largely responsible for that. That's one part. Second is, the Pelgam attack, immediately after the attack, I think Prime Minister made a statement very clearly, Prime Minister Modi. He said, we will not let go of the guys of these terrorists who perpetuated this horrific attack, one. Second, we're not going to just limit ourselves to only hanging or, punishing these culprits who carried out the act, but we will also catch the people behind them, the forces that have supported them, have, engineered all the infrastructure for them. And we will get at them, be it in their headquarters, be it anywhere else, correct? That's a strong message. Although the strike that we've carried out yesterday morning limited itself to the terrorist infrastructure, there is that message is still pending to be executed, is that who are the people behind sustaining this terrorist infrastructure, supporting them, and letting them carry out such terrorist acts. Quite obviously, the state support is there, the military support is there. And therefore, it's a message that they're not going to be left alone as well. And that, I would say, by trying to escalate it, Pakistan has fallen into that trap. So they are now going to get punished on that as well. That's what is going to happen.
How do you see Pakistan's claim of shooting down Indian jets?
Well, firstly, to put it bluntly, it's absolute rubbish. Okay, in today's environment and social media environment, particularly, any of these situations, crisis situations, the affected country resorts to a tremendous amount of disinformation and propaganda. Okay, so that's what it is, in my opinion. But secondly, as I said right in the beginning, this time the operations have been planned in such a way that none of our aircraft crossed the IB. And therefore, their ability to even intercept, firstly, they've been carried out at night. There's no air combat at night. You have to be officially intercepted through air defense structures that will carry out an interception. That is not possible when your adversary is not crossed your international border in the first place. And weapons have been all stand-off weapons. So their ability to even acquire the target or even target the airborne aircraft and shoot them down is preposterous, in my opinion. It's not going to happen. Even if they've got, there are, these things have been well prepared for by the Indian Air Force, and they would have sorted that out.
Considering India's deployment of S-400 systems and the layering of indigenous air defense systems like Akash and Barak, how well equipped is India to interpret and neutralize airborne threats? And how does this deterrence architecture enhance India's defense posture?
The S-400 is easily the world's best air defense missile system. There is no, doubts about that. There's no ambiguity about that. It's a state-of-the-art system. It has a phenomenal range, right? It sanitizes a bubble of 600-kilometer radius of action, and the ability to the surveillance radar picks up the targets down to the size of a smallest drone, and the envelope goes right up to 60,000 feet, and it has multiple target tracking capability and ability to engage multiple targets simultaneously. And if I'm right, it's 8 to 12 targets can be engaged simultaneously. And so it's a phenomenal system. That's one. And This is at the forefront of covering the larger ranges and the comprehensive, air defense security. And they are backed up by two other layers of security. One at the middle layer at 60 to 80 to 120 kilometers, which is the MRSAT. And then you have the other missile systems for shorter ranges like Akash and the QRSAMs, etc. So the air defense bubble is quite comprehensive. Plus, of course, you have strategic, radar cover that's meant for the strategic missile system linkages. So that also contributes to the overall air defense knowledge. And so on the western border, particularly with Pakistan, it's fairly a foolproof air defense coverage that you have. Plus, we've acquired those aerostat balloons, which also create a massive air defense bubble, in terms of surveillance. And then these are backed up by the AVACs, etc. All this put together, the border against Pakistan is fairly solidly defended in terms of air defense coverage. So when S-400 has now been brought into the line of action, that is because today's warfare has changed thanks to the experiments in the Ukraine war, Russia-Ukraine war. Drones. In fact, it started off with the Azerbaijan-Armenian war. That is the first demonstration of how drones can be effectively, and they've grown in leaps and bounds in the way the drones can actually be utilized. And therefore, you need an air defense system to be able to track or recognize, pick up, track, and shoot them down in simultaneously in multiple, target areas and multiple directions. Saturation attack is easily possible with swarming technologies and swarming capabilities in modern drone warfare that has emerged. They're pretty mature now. And therefore, drones is one of the biggest threats. Plus, the Pakistan have launched short-range missiles against our bases. And these have to be tackled. By the time they get launched, they get picked up, and then they are targeted by the S-400 systems. At closer ranges, the other systems are also available. So the air defense system is pretty solid against Pakistan for us.
The drones which Pakistan has been using against India is being manufactured by what nation? Do you see the role of Turkey, China, or any other external player here?
Today, in drones and UAVs, China is the world leader. The numbers that they manufacture and the range of drones that they manufacture is phenomenal, and they're supplying to a lot of countries. So Pakistan is a beneficiary of that exports from China as well. Besides that, they have access to buy drones from Turkey, and the Turkish drones have proved pretty effective for Ukrainians against the Russians as well. So they have plenty of access to these. Plus, the mid-range, the medium and mini drones can be churned out in thousands today. That is the kind of market that is mushroom today all over the world. And within their country also they should be able to put it together. So access is there for any number of drones that's available to them. It is the technology in terms of electronics, in terms of control systems, and in terms of marrying the weapons into it, and then being able to create that fire and forget capabilities. These are all further developments, which with China, Turkey, and other countries, including the US, Pakistan has the access. So we have to be prepared to deal with that kind of a reality, and we are dealing with it. On the other hand, in India, the innovation and startup culture that has been encouraged for the last 10 to 12 years is paying rich dividends. So the counter drone weapons that have been utilized yesterday and today against Pakistan attacks is pretty much an indigenous development system. Okay, and that's one of the finest demonstrations that is happening right now. And apart from that, India has been operating UAVs for quite a long time. So we have significant access to UAVs. We are building them within the country. Plus, we have acquired from various countries, Israel and US being two of the examples. And weapons are fairly advanced.
So, should Pakistan engage in further misadventures or miscalculations targeting Indian military assets? What retaliatory capabilities, particularly in terms of standoff precision weapons, ballistic missile systems, and air superiority platforms, does India possess in order to counter those risks?
I would say, like I mentioned right in the beginning, see, despite Pakistan being one of the powerful militaries, in that range of countries, at the end of the day, Pakistan is a nuisance for India. We can sort them out in terms of military capabilities, right? So, despite the Indian Air Force's, retiring fair amount of aircraft, and we are yet to get back to the sanctioned strength of 45 squadrons or 42 squadrons, we are at about 32 squadrons. The packing that's been done along the border with modern aircraft and our air bases in depth, we have a significant capability. And we will make sure that this doesn't escalate to a level where we need to get worried about a two-front war or a large-scale war. That is the job of the political leadership and the diplomats, and of course the military leadership will play into it, and we are sure that we will handle that at that point of time. In terms of dealing, even if it comes to a full-fledged war, I think has enough capabilities to deal with that kind of eventuality.
And given Islamabad's repeated attempts to manipulate international media with misinformation and jingoistic rhetoric, what diplomatic and strategic messaging should India adopt to counter disinformation, reinforce its image as a responsible global actor, and isolate state sponsors of terrorism?
That scene has changed over the last 20-25 years. See, the Indian military today is well known across the world with the leading countries and many other countries. We exercise a lot we carry out phenomenal number of international exercises, exercising with the US or Russia, with France, UK, and many other countries, Israel, Indonesia, a whole lot of countries. So the interaction and the credibility that exists between the countries about India is phenomenal. That's one. The Pakistan's earlier pattern of working, always flagging the nuclear issue and flagging the Kashmir issue, that has run out of steam. That's one. Second, it's a well-established fact that Pakistan has been, a supporter and a harborer of the terrorist outfits. LET and Jaish Mohammed are proscribed by the UN, United Nations, and other leading countries. And they still live there and they still, continue to do their training and continue to do that. Without a state support, this cannot happen. So, despite all their propaganda, right now I see it as, it's a sort of somebody who's been given a knock and then the child is crying. It is that kind of a statement. The only support they're probably trying to work on is trying to get the sympathy by Islamicizing the entire problem. And therefore, the Organization of Islamic Countries are sort of hampered by not overtly criticizing Pakistan, while they say, okay, the terrorist attack in Pelgam is, atrocious and unacceptable. They have not criticized Pakistan explicitly, okay, which is one of the problem areas. But at the same time, in the last 10 to 15 years, India has built very strong relations with UAE and Saudi Arabia and the other countries of the Organization of Islamic Countries. So it's a balancing act that India has done quite well. And therefore, despite all the propaganda and disinformation, I think we are quite in a quite strong position to handle that. And the MEA is dealing with it quite well. You have an excellent foreign minister, Jaishankar, who's quite blunt on these kind of occasions to convey the message very well. And both at the UN level and at the major powers level, like the US and Russia, they've come out quite strongly. Russian support was explicit in this particular case. China maintains a neutral position. People would say that they're supporting Pakistan. Pakistan is a strategic ally, but if you notice, China has just kept mum and said, get on to negotiating table. Okay. So their disinformation is not working as they would want to see it, carry the message across the world. Maybe countries like, Turkey may have a little more positive support towards Pakistan, but I think they also understand the reality.
I would like to conclude the discussion by asking that how do you see the support of India's strategic partners like Israel, Russia, and United States in this whole scenario? And what future cooperation are you expecting from these strategic partners, which some experts also refer to as allies?
Well, if you go by the statements of their leaders, the US is quite, positive in understanding India's position. They've not given one word of any, negative interpretation of India's actions. There, on the other hand, I would say it's an indirect positive support. While they take, it is quite natural for a leading hegemon of the world. It is quite natural to take a position saying that the two parties that are fighting, please come to the negotiating table and let peace prevail. Okay, that's a natural, progress of things. But explicitly, they've condemned the terrorist attack, and India's response is well within its rights to respond the way we've done, and that's understood quite well. President Putin from Russia has explicitly supported India's position. There is no ambiguity in that area. Israel has always been with India. In this particular case, there is no ambiguity in that area as well. So we look at other countries like, who are significant players like, France, UK, Japan, Singapore, and all of these countries will be very positive towards understanding India's position. And you can't just carry on for 50 years. We've done that. Just saying we'll bilaterally we'll resolve the issue. We'll keep talking about it. But any number of terrorist acts have taken place in this India. There's a limit to all of that. So this time the message is very clear. We want to put an end. Either Pakistan amends itself or Pakistan becomes a pariah state internationally. And it's the responsibility of the international community also to deal with it in that same manner as India's project. That's the way I think we should look at it.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of this important conversation. Thank you so much, sir, for your time once again, and it was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Ritvesh. It was a great pleasure interacting with you. Thank you.